Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. My name is Salvador Briggman, and today we're talking about equity crowdfunding, specifically some of the pros and cons that go into that. Now on this channel, we talk about Kickstarter, Indiegogo, equity crowdfunding, Regulation CF, and really try to arm you with the tools, the devices, and the know-how to go out there and raise money from the crowd. So Reg CF has been seeing massive growth, starting off with 74 million in 2018 and growing to 1.1 billion in terms of total funds raised in this past year of 2021. So it's been growing a heck of a lot, and it's a great time to get involved. A lot of this growth is really due, honestly, to the raising of the cap when it comes to Reg CF, to be able to actually raise more money under those securities exemptions, up to 5 million recently. So this is really what's propelling a lot of the growth, and also we've been documenting this a lot at CrowdCrux. For example, in 2020, the top industries for Reg CF were as follows: food and beverage at 11.4% of total funds, software and development at 8.3% of total funds, technology 8.1%, and media and entertainment at 7.3%. And you can discover way more tips and way more stats and like this on my website at crowdcrux.com, where we try to kind of go in depth there and just provide you with some really interesting information so you can make more informed decisions and also decide if this thing is right for you. So let's get into some of the pros and the cons of equity crowdfunding, specifically Reg CF, and decide whether or not this is a path that you should go down. Again, my name is Salvador, and it's coming up right after this. Okay, so if you don't know, I got started in the industry back in 2012. I was doing a logistic regression analysis for my mini econ thesis at George Washington University, comparing the different categories on Kickstarter. And it's mainly because I couldn't find enough data out there on equity crowdfunding, because the Jobs Act had just been passed. It hadn't really been enacted yet until 2015, and there was absolutely no data, right? And there's of course some starting, I think, with Reg A Plus and some of those initial raises, but there really was nothing like what you see today. So I've been always passionate about this space, and really for me this has been a labor of love, being able to put out courses and content and books and podcasts to show you how people just like you are raising money using Reg CF. So let's get into some of those pros and cons in today's video. First of all, I want to go through a couple major pros, then we'll talk about some cons, we'll go back to the pros, and then we'll finish off this video with a couple of cons. The first is the opportunity to go viral. And that is so exciting, because that was not, you couldn't really do that when it comes to raising money using other securities exemptions, right? So general solicitation is something that is now allowed when it comes to Reg CF, and also some other minor regulations there. So you can actually market this to the crowd. And the cool thing about that is that you can actually now go viral with a Reg CF campaign, with an equity crowdfunding campaign. And by that I mean not only getting promoted with your own internal marketing, but also when it comes to the actual platform that you're using, whether you're using, WeFunder or Start Engine or any of the guys out there, Seed Invest, right? You can actually get promoted by the actual platform and to reach a whole new audience of people that you have never met before, a whole new audience of strangers who may decide to invest in your really hot, cool new startup. And in addition, you can get viral sharing on social media, because obviously part of general solicitation is the fact that you can actually have tombstone style advertising on social media and other marketing platforms out there, PR example. So being able to go viral, I think, is a huge opportunity. The fact that it can be shared over and over again, if people really resonate with you, your story, your product, you can get actual promotion from the platform, and you can do your own marketing. A lot of people also been asking, like, can you actually get worldwide investor attention? The answer is yes. At the time I'm recording this, it's really specific by country when it comes to actually raising money, right? Because obviously UK regulations are very different from the US regulations, etc. When it comes to investors, you can be starting an LLC, you can be starting a company, a C Corp, right, in the United States, and you can raise money for that company, and you can do it from investors that are all over the world. The second is that you can now tap into both accredited and non-accredited investor bases. And what's so exciting about that is that, for the longest time, these kinds of investments, these kinds of opportunities, these kinds of deals were just kind of relegated to the super ultra wealthy. I'm talking like Shark Tank, Mark Cuban, Kevin O'Leary, right? These people who have massive amounts of disposable income, they're considered an accredited investor. And you can look up the definition of that. I also have a video out there on YouTube talking about that, as well as if you want to get on Shark Tank, I have a video as well breaking down the process that goes into that. But that being said, you can now take advantage of this, because you can not only market to accredited investors, but also non-accredited investors, specifically doing a Reg CF campaign. So that's basically your mom and pops, that's the people that are around you, your friends, your family. That's also strangers online who maybe don't have enough income or enough assets to qualify for that accredited investor status. they can now get access to hot new startups that might become the next Uber, might become the next Facebook, and you can position yourself in front of them to see if they're interested in that opportunity of joining you as one of those initial investors and evangelists in your company. And to me, that is just exciting. The other cool thing is that now you're kind of also have the ability to market to friends of friends, people who know you through various professional networks, different groups that you're a part of. And as well, you don't have to go to the traditional angel investors, the traditional VCs in order to get seed funding, in order to get some funding into your company. And in addition, the cool thing is that, I'll talk about this a little bit later when it comes to the cap table, it's not gonna also make a lot of your other investors who come in later really angry about it. So number one, just to kind of recap, you can market to both accredited and non-accredited investors, which is a massive pro. You can do this using online marketing. You can reach your friends, your family, their friends, and different professional networks out there and strangers. And finally, you aren't relegated or you aren't just handcuffed by those gatekeepers, those angel investors or those VCs who maybe still will participate in your round, but you now have many different opportunities to go around that. Number three, and what I see as one of the biggest benefits when it comes to Reg CF, is that unlike a Kickstarter campaign or an Indiegogo campaign, which is kind of like more of a rewards-based crowdfunding campaign, that's actually where a lot of my expertise has been over the last 8 years before Reg CF really got enacted in a kind of meaningful way. With those styles of crowdfunding, you can't really cash out during the middle of a campaign. But here's what's the cool thing about Reg CF and about equity crowdfunding is that you can do that. You can initiate what is called a rolling close. And that's basically where you can say, okay, we've gotten to a certain level when it comes to your investment dollars. I'd like to cash out or take some of the chips off the table to take that into my private bank account, but I still want to continue that raise. So you can actually have a longer campaign nowadays when it comes to Reg CF as compared to more of a Kickstarter, Indiegogo kind of raise. So I'm talking like 90 days plus, as well as having different rolling closes to be able to kind of mitigate a little bit of risk that comes with when you have a bunch of money that you've raised. It's like, oh, now how do I cash out? That is the answer, is a rolling close. I also think this is just so freaking important, man, because this is a media event. This is a media spectacle. This is you want to hype this up as much as possible because you read TechCrunch, right? It's all writing about new startup raises. So this isn't just something that you're doing behind closed doors in a small way. You should kind of shout this thing from the rooftops and use this as an opportunity for people to get to know your brand. Those people can not only become, investors, but also evangelists, customers, people who help you out in different ways. Partners, etc. Use this as a media opportunity in your company's history so that you're not just spending all that attention and money on marketing when it comes to the Reg CF campaign, but you're also using that to build brand exposure, to get a massive base of people talking online. And I think this is a major pro when it comes to Reg CF. So dude, I'm telling you, this is literally like crack cocaine. Like it's insane, right? There's just so many great, incredible benefits when it comes to Reg CF. But at the same time, like crack cocaine, I guess, if we're making that joke, there are also some negative things when it comes to this. So let's get into some of those cons. Now, the biggest con that I see out there when it comes to particularly a new startup founder or someone who's really trying to make a big splash is that they're trying to do it all themselves. And very quickly they discover they don't want to do it all themselves, right? That's not something that's really fun when it comes to learning a whole new discipline of marketing or learning about all these different terms or actually even how to get people to take action when it comes to being strangers and turning them to investors in your campaign. So I think kind of one of the biggest cons when it comes to this is that you really do need to hire help. And that might not be, for example, that could be a general marketer, that could be a marketer who's specific to Reg CF and to equity crowdfunding, that could be a coach or a consultant. This is something that you need help with. I promise you, if you hire a coach, a consultant, a marketer even to help you out, it's gonna be well worth that time and that investment, not only for just speeding up the entire process, but also make sure that you're doing everything that you need to do, as well as some things when it comes to compliance that I think are really important when it comes to marketing and just being aware of those different things. So you definitely are going to need help when it comes to marketing. And even if that's just the hard assets, I call it hard assets, other people call it like creative content, whether that's the video, the graphics on your campaign page, the copywriting, the perks, the wording of all of that, email sequence, etc. There's a lot that you really could, I think, have help with, and you can kind of oversee those operations. So a lot of these platforms now are actually developing internal marketing teams. However, I've heard kind of mixed reviews of those, honestly. So you can also, I would recommend kind of go out there and shop a little bit and check out some of the other marketing firms that help with Reg CF. Look at some of the coaches like myself as well who do help out and help out very minimally when it comes to execution. If we really believe in a project, go and learn about that and learn a little bit about the industry that's kind of the cottage industry, if you will, that's kind of growing around Reg CF. Number 5, and I know I'm being like such a party pooper here, but honestly, like I gotta just tell you how it is, right? General solicitation, man, there are rules and regulations when it comes to that. So you can't just say whatever you want, right? And you can't just broadcast everything when it comes to the offering. You really got to be mindful of that information that you're putting out. The SEC or other regulatory bodies are going to term that as a tombstone style advertisement. We're really just having factual information that's not going to be misleading in any kind of way, or going to provide too many deals terms that are just you should put on the actual platform itself. You don't want to, be discussing any kind of that stuff on social media or when you're marketing. So it's going to be kind of a little bit more high level, but that doesn't mean it can't be engaging and really pack a punch, right, when it comes to your marketing. That being said, I promise you, when you go out there and you actually look into this industry, you will notice other marketing firms that are breaking those rules, okay? And it's only a matter of time before there is some kind of a fiasco. Happens all the time, happens many times when it comes to traditional crowdfunding. So at some point in time, there's gonna be a media fiasco when it comes to investors who feel like they were given false information or whatever. You do not wanna be in the middle of that media fiasco. So make sure you're working with people who know what they're doing, who are ethical, and that are abiding by the rules. And that unfortunately is a con, because it just means you can't really be as aggressive with marketing in the way you might be could with like an e-commerce style campaign or something like that. Number 6, and this is probably to me one that just kind of takes the wind out of your sails a little bit. I'm definitely one of those like ready, fire, aim kind of guys. My team is always like, this is exciting, but also like, where's the plan? Like we got to put in all the details and that kind of stuff. And I've just always been that way in my life, whether that's starting my business or starting YouTube or starting my podcast or writing books. I'm just this idea guy. Like I'm so freaking passionate about what I do. I have so much energy to put out there. But at the same time, there is a process, right? And that process takes time, my friends. So whether we're talking about the test the waters period when it comes to a Reg CF campaign, or we're talking about other things, right, like filing your Form C, what's required there, getting a lead investor, there really is a timeline, and it does kind of take a little bit of that adult planning work to figure out the timetable, the responsible parties, when you're gonna have to need certain information by, when is the Form C gonna be filed, all that kind of stuff. So you do need to do a little bit of research when it comes to what I call the timeline or the timetable for a Reg CF project style campaign. However, this should not be a deterrent. I'm telling you, for the majority of you out there, this is something that's going to enhance your business and enhance just the number of people that you can reach when it comes to a fundraiser. And there are also some things that you should be aware of when it comes to how much you can raise and the different owners or obligations that you have depending on how much you are raising under Reg CF, and just become more knowledgeable about that. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The top campaigns use this trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. So dude, when I was writing about this in my book, Equity Crowdfunding Explained, right? It's available on Audible, available paperback version. You can go and check it out. I'll include a link down below. I also got a free course on equity crowdfunding and a bunch of other stuff out there. So when I was first writing this and you're starting to see all these regulations and obligations and things you have to do, it's very easy to become like a toddler that just becomes really frustrated. It's like, why do I have to go through all of this just to get my offering out there? But then I started to think about it, and you think about it like the start of the stock market, right? Before that, people could not trade shares of companies very easily. There was no publicly traded marketplace. The stock market is obviously a secondary market. Even think of like an IPO, be able to offer the initial shares to the public. Before that, there was no kind of mechanism to do that. So in my opinion, like looking at the regulations, how they've grown over time when it comes to securities regulations, now incorporating crowdfunding into that, it's just like we're so lucky. We are so lucky, and you should be grateful too, because while there are a little bit of red tape, a little bit of things you have to go through and a process, at the same time, this has never been available to other entrepreneurs out there before in history. And now they're handing it to you on a silver platter. So it's the easiest time to raise capital. And I think that it's so easy to kind of like get in that toddler mindset where it's like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. But at the same time, we are so lucky, my friends. So let's talk about some of the other pros when it comes to equity crowdfunding. Well, one of the reasons why, rewards-based crowdfunding when it comes to Kickstarter, Indiego work just so well is because of perks and rewards. And this is kind of like the incentive, if you want to think of it that way. It's like that really nice kind of cream of the crop, where it's really like the icing on the cake when it comes to that. And so often, like, people just need incentives, right? We love to have incentives. And one of the cool things about Reg CF is that you can provide incentives to your investors. And those are basically perks, right? You can call them rewards. They're kind of like gifts. They're kind of a bunch of different terminology that's been surfacing within the Reg CF space, but you can call them perks. So these are basically investor perks that someone can get access to depending on how much they've invested in the campaign. And you can get really creative here, right? So these investor perks could be directly related to the product that you're selling. For example, as a company, maybe they get a free one of these widgets, they get a free access to a trial of your software, and there's real value there. So not only are they becoming an investor, they're also becoming a customer, right? Or for your existing customer base, if you already have an existing customer base, they maybe could get a discount, or they could get some kind of a massive way in which to have a better access or more value out of the products and the services that you're already selling. But you could also get even more creative when it comes to founding dinners, right? Or some kind of a gala. Or I think the most creative one, I was doing a podcast with this guy, and he was telling me how he did an NFT perk, and he offered that in terms of a Reg CF campaign, and he cleared it with legal and all that kind of stuff. And this is obviously his words, not mine, but he cleared it with his legal team. He cleared it when it comes to Reg CF. And was able to offer an NFT style perk with his Reg CF campaign on WeFunder. You can go listen to my podcast when it comes to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. So I publish a version of that on YouTube, also on Spotify, also on iTunes. You can go and listen to some of those real world founding stories. And I think it really says it very clearly for you. The second pro in this sort of second section, I would say, is the fact that you can really gather a huge base of testimonials. And this is actually, I think, a lot harder than people will admit. But when you do a Reg CF style campaign, you can actually get a bunch of people who are providing testimonials on why they invested with your actual campaign. I think a great example of this is WeFunder, right? So you can go watch some of my videos on WeFunder specifically, and you can see how these individuals are prompted to leave a little bit of a review almost, or a social proof, I call it in marketing terms, of why they got involved. Why did they invest? You're gonna get this huge list. I'm talking like hundreds of people that are telling you why they invested in your campaign. And for some people, they love the founder. They have a great connection when it comes to the vision of the founder. Other people like the mission, the values of the company. Other people believe this is going to become a massively profitable, huge campaign in the future. There's so many different reasons why they are investing in Reg CF campaigns. But you can start to gather all those testimonials, and it begins to build your brand. The other cool thing here, just being able to get people when it comes to the comment section, right? And being able to get them to ask really interesting questions and to interact. And it almost builds this micro community where those people can then talk with each other, and they can actually be of use to you when it comes to either providing feedback on your products, or even becoming service providers, or joining your team as employees. So this actually, again, goes back to another podcast that I did, where the guy literally got some of his highest quality employees from doing the Reg CF style campaign, because he found the people that really connected with the vision. So another pro that I just want to point out in this section is the fact that a lot of the times when we're trying to raise money from a lot of people, it can make the cap table really kind of messy, difficult to understand. And as you know, angels and VCs really don't kind of like that stuff. And they're also kind of straight edge people, if you know what I mean, right? So they definitely don't like that stuff. And I'm sure you also know that. So one of the cool things about doing this campaign is that when it comes to all those investors, they're basically kind of scrunched together into one line on your cap table, usually incorporated into some kind of an SPV. So it makes it actually a lot easier when you're raising capital in the future. You're not going to see all these list of names on the cap table, which is going to anger those easily agitated VCs and angels. I'm kind of poking fun here a little bit, right? But it's going to make it a lot easier. So I think that's also another big pro. One of the things I kind of learned from my time helping with Kickstarter, Indiego campaigns, and other types of crowdfunding campaigns, nonprofit crowdfunding campaigns, really helping as well, even with real estate crowdfunding, is that there are significant pros and there are also cons that you need to be aware of. And that was kind of what I decided to do when I started my YouTube channel, is that I really wanted to try to make things transparent and clear for you so you could just make up your mind and make the decision. And the reason is that there are so many fancy finance people out there that are throwing around jargon that you don't understand, and then I hate how they kind of use that to obscure what is actually, I think, a really straightforward process. So I kind of wanted to just go into a couple more cons, and then we'll kind of cap this video because I know I'm getting on the longer side here. So for cons, for our second section here, is that you are going to need a lead investor. Now, if you're not familiar with what a lead investor is, you can watch some of my videos on YouTube. You can take my free equity crowdfunding course, or you can download my book, Equity Crowdfunding Explained, on Audible, and it'll tell you a lot more about this. But basically, you are going to need a lead investor. A lead investor is the person who's putting in money first when it comes to this Reg CF style campaign. Why do you need this? Well, the main reason is that everyone else who's investing in the WeFunder campaign or in the equity crowdfunding campaign or the Reg CF campaign, they want to know that they're investing on good terms, right? They want to know that what they're investing in actually has value, actually has merit. Who would have thought, right? So the lead investor, by putting in a significant chunk of money, is basically vouching for you as a startup in a very tangible way. They're putting their money where their mouth is, right? And they're investing on the exact same terms as the other investors that are becoming a part of the Reg CF style campaign. So you are going to need some kind of a lead investor. Typically that maybe is someone who has put in money before, or an individual like an angel investor who is already considering actually investing in the company, and instead you decide to use that investment for the lead investor when it comes to a Reg CF round. Just something to be aware of. The next, and I'll be honest with you, this is probably like one of my worst skill sets. I have like so many DMs that I haven't replied to. I have a bunch of text messages I haven't replied to. I have so many emails from guys like you, and I love getting emails right from fans, but I just can't get through all of them, man. Like, I just have projects I'm working on, things I'm trying to do, new course I'm trying to make, and a lot of times I get distracted. And to me, this is one of my weaknesses of my skill set, right? So one of the downsides of doing a Reg CF style campaign is that you actually do need to reply to investor comments. So this is kind of, I would call this customer service, if you want to put a word to it or a label to it, but it's really like you just have to be willing to answer the questions publicly of the investors. And if you don't do that, it creates the appearance that there's some kind of an issue, my friend, right? So communication is your friend when it comes to Reg CF style campaigns, and you want to make sure that you're answering those investor questions, and also not doing it in a kind of a gruff manner, right? But really treating them with the respect they deserve, in the same way as if you had investors that are coming up part of a public company and they have questions, you got to answer those questions. And that's something you and your team must be prepared to do. The other thing I want to mention before I share something super valuable with you is the fact that, yep, this is gonna become more competitive. You heard it here first. I've been, prophesizing the future, if you wanna call it that way, right? I told you how Reg CF is gonna become huge, and I started saying that a couple of years ago as I noticed some of the exemptions that were changing, some of the rules there, and also seeing more and more companies and just having a lot more touch points. I try to keep my fingers on the pulse when it comes to this industry. The other thing I'm telling you this is one of my prophecies, right? Prophecies of Sal. It's gonna become more competitive, okay? Right now, actually, when it comes to Reg CF style videos, they are so not competitive. Like, you compare that to Kickstarter style videos or consumer facing videos, and they're like nothing, right? It's insane to me. And also just the updates and even the quality of the marketing, I think, is kind of subpar, quite frankly, when it comes to other kind of marketing that I've done in the past. But this is not gonna last forever, okay? So this is like a sweet spot. It is going to become more competitive. And particularly as people see people raising millions of dollars, which has been happening so much this past year, it's gonna become more competitive, particularly as people realize it's not as difficult as you think. And I think also investors are gonna become much more stringent in which campaigns they decide to invest in, particularly when things don't go the way they want to always. So they're gonna become more aware of who is the lead investor, what are the terms that they're investing in, what is the valuation of the company, what are the other solutions out there when it comes to the product, right? This is something that's gonna become more competitive, and I think that's honestly a con. So if you're listening to this video and you really are interested, you definitely should listen to what I'm gonna say next, but this is a good time to get involved because it is gonna become more competitive. So if you want to talk about how this could work for you potentially with your startup, or you're already ready and you're like, I'm ready to go, Sal, I just need to dot the I's and cross the T's, and also I maybe need some help when it comes to execution, or I want you to just look over my marketing strategy, or do these guys really know what they're doing? You can book a one-on-one coaching call with me down below. Not a lot of people know that. These are intensive coaching sessions where we go through every aspect of your campaign when it comes to the planning, the strategy, the marketing, etc., the execution, and we really go through that in depth. And we also come up with action items and homework items and all that kind of stuff. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to connect with me on a one-on-one basis, a one-on-one coaching call, you can click the link down below or go to crowdcrux.com/coaching and you can book a one-on-one call with me there. There'll be some questions for you. You just got to fill out. Not all of the questions might be related to you. If you feel like they are, you definitely should fill them out. The more information you give me, the better, and the more that I can help you and be prepared for our call. So thank you so much if you decided to go and check that out. But let's talk about one final thing. So the final thing, man, is just start learning more. Just start watching videos, start binging this. As you're listening, you're going in the car, listen to the podcast, Crowdfunding Demystified Podcast. You can search my name, Salvador Briggman. It will come up on Spotify, right, or on iTunes or whatever. You can listen to this on the go. Just start to fill your mind, fill your brain with how this works. Learn about the process. Just start binge watching videos, right? Start reading blog posts online. And just start to learn about this. And you'll start to get questions. You'll start to have a better understanding of how this works. And this is really the best thing that you can do at this part if you are a beginner. If you're more advanced, identify what you don't know, right? And then really consult with someone who can help you on that. But that being said, I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I am on Instagram. You can search me up, Salvador Briggman. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want more content like this. If you found this video helpful at all, give me a thumbs up so that I know that, man. Or leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed my teaching style, the passion, the pizzazz that I bring, I think you're gonna like a couple of the videos I have in store this year. So make sure you subscribe. But again, my name is Salvador, and I will see you next time.